Alright, this is a video on careers for artists. Things that you can do as a job when you grow up, if you like art a lot. Obviously, you could be a painter. Painters sometimes create paintings from their imagination, and sometimes they create paintings for commission. So a person might pay an artist to do a painting of themselves, or a painting of their children, or a painting of a famous scene, like a garden, or their house, or a fantasy scene. Sculptors work much the same way. They might create sculptures from their imagination, or they might create sculptures for commission. A city might pay a sculptor to create a sculpture for a park, or a state might pay a sculptor to create a statue of a famous person. A church might pay a sculptor to create a statue of a religious figure. And these don't have to be huge. They could be small sculptures. Sculptors might create small sculptures to sell. Glass blowers. These are people who melt and create things out of melted wax. Melted glass. There is a great glass studio down at the Chrysler Museum in Norfolk. You can go there and watch artists create things out of glass. You can also take workshops there to learn how to do it yourself. There's also a historical glass blower down at Jamestown, not at the Jamestown Settlement Museum part, but at the actual Jamestown. You can go and watch them blow glass there as well. You could be a potter. Potters create things often on pottery wheels, like bowls, cups, vases, vessels to put things in. They might also do hand building. It's always out of clay, different types of clay, like porcelain or earthenware, out of red clay, which is what you see right here. You could be a mosaic artist. Mosaic artists take small pieces of things, usually tile, sometimes stones. One artist does it with broken plates. He buys broken plates at flea markets and yard sales, breaks them into small pieces and puts those small pieces together. But they're always using the small pieces to make a picture of something. Be aware when you go visit museums and churches, and look for the mosaics, because that's where I often see them. On walls in the hallway, on the floor. Photographers. Now, there are a lot of different kinds of photographers. These are just a few. You could be a photojournalist. Photojournalists take pictures of newsworthy stories. They follow journalists around. The journalist writes the story. The photojournalist takes the pictures of the story. One of the first photojournalists took pictures of the Civil War. That was right about when cameras were invented. A wedding photographer. They get paid a pretty nice amount. And they take pictures for people's weddings to help them remember the day. A celebrity photographer follows celebrities around, famous people around, and takes pictures of them. An advertising photographer takes pictures of products that are being sold. You see their photographs in every magazine that you buy. Then there's also a wildlife or a nature photographer. National Geographic magazine is the magazine that stands out to me for this. You could be a weaver. There's a wonderful place at Colonial Williamsburg, a little house that has several looms in it, and the ladies that work in there can tell you all about how colonial people used weaving and how they created their fabrics and how they made the yarn that they're weaving with. All of the fabric that you're wearing used to be woven by hand on large looms like this. Nowadays machines weave it, but it's still woven. People who are artists today tend to weave things like blankets and scarves, but also wall hangings, pictures made of fabric, pictures made of yarn. You could be a textile designer. These are the people who design what's printed onto the fabric. All these patterns are drawn by an artist. You could be a fashion designer or a costume designer. When we think about fashion, what first comes to my mind are fancy dresses that people wear on runways and fashion shows. But that's not the only kind of fashion designer. All the clothes that you're wearing right now were designed by a fashion designer. All of the clothes you see in movies were designed by a costume designer. And I think the movie people have a cool job because they can do it for many different periods through history. They can also be designing clothes for futuristic movies. Jewelry designers. There are people who design what your jewelry is going to look like. You could be an architect and design buildings. These people work very closely with engineers. They do what the building looks like on the outside, but they're also designing spaces for the plumbing to go and the electrical work to go. You could be an interior designer. These artists design what rooms will look like inside, what color the wall is going to be, what kind of furniture is going to be in the room, what colors are going to go on the furniture, what kind of patterns need to be there, what color is the wood going to be, what kind of flooring cover is there going to be. Everything about the inside space that you're in right now was, well, maybe not right now, not the art room, but all of your rooms at home could have been designed by an interior designer, even if that interior designer was your mom. Furniture designers. These people design what your furniture is going to look like. What is the desk going to look like? And what are the cabinets going to look like? What kind of table is going to sit here? Graphic designers are designing a lot of the ads you see in magazines and newspapers. The photographer takes the pictures, but then the graphic designer will take those photographs and decide where the type is going to go, where the words are going to go. How big is the picture going to be? How big are the words going to be? What color are the words going to be? And sometimes they're doing this on computers, sometimes they're doing it by hand. You might be a video game designer. There are people who work for the video game companies who draw the characters, who draw pictures for the set or the backgrounds in the video games. You might be a book illustrator. I'm sure you all have enjoyed pictures in books. That's an artist's job. Sometimes the book illustrator writes the book too, is the author as well, but oftentimes the publishers connect our authors with book illustrators. So the book illustrator's job is to take the author's words and decide what kind of pictures it needs. Comic book artist. All of those graphic novels you all read? Comic book artists. 3D animator. This is a person who is going to take flat drawings and change them into three-dimensional animations. Automobile design. Bet you never thought about an artist designed your car. But they did. They're again working very closely with engineers because they have to design something that is possible to build. But they decide what shape the lights are going to be, the headlights are going to be. Things like that. Medical illustrators. These people are drawing things from medical journals. Art historians. Now these artists are not doing their own artwork as much as they learn about other people's artwork and how it connects. Museum curators, they decide what artwork is going to be in the museums. So, and they decide what shows they're going to have in the museum. For instance, not too long ago at the Muscarelli Museum at William and Mary, the museum curator decided to have a Leonardo da Vinci exhibit with drawings and a few paintings by Leonardo da Vinci. But he had to come up with a theme for it, and his theme was about beauty versus ugliness. And so he had drawings that demonstrated those two opposites. When he asked the museum in Italy, in Florence, Italy, if he could borrow the drawings by Da Vinci, if they could come to the Muscarelli Museum, he would have proposed that idea of beauty versus ugliness and how that's a new take on seeing the artwork, how that will educate the public about the artwork. And then the museum in Italy then agreed to let him use those pictures. An art therapist works with people who have some sort of trauma, and they're trying to work through their trauma. Art's a very therapeutic thing to do, hence all the adult coloring books that are out right now to help people relax. But art therapy goes a little bit further than that. Help people deal with their problems through art. Art teacher. I don't think I need to say a whole lot about this. You know what I do. Okay, so there are more. I'm sure I've missed some, but that's a pretty good amount of jobs that an artist can do. Oh, I didn't even talk about 3D animation as far as films go. Is a great example of animators. All the guys work at Pixar, Toy Story, and Cars. All of those animation movies are 3D animators. Okay, thank you.